The Israelis should be happy. You have Independence Day coming up soon, no?
No, it was already.
Huh? It was already.
It was already.
Okay, so anyway, but not so long ago, was it?
No.
No.
It was.
So you could celebrate having your own state where you can do a lot of good in the area and bring democracy and progress and all these kinds of things. And what are we doing? We're killing each other and throwing.
We almost had new government, almost, and now.
Yeah. It looks as somebody is holding his or her hand over this person, isn't it? That whenever he's about to go, something happens, and then he's not going.
Yeah.
Well, samsara, isn't it? I mean, and also, like, you know, the text today is about how the enemy becomes your friend. So I'm not so sure. I'm glad you're laughing, Noah, because I'm not so sure if that's the right thing to talk about right at the moment. So, but we'll see. Oh, Thomas left us. Thomas disappeared. Anyway, so I thought we start maybe with a maybe touching fear, meditation, a little bit.
Yeah.
Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Necessary, yeah. You know, I mean, because I'm planning to come to Israel in August, so so I'm still planning to come if they let me in. They still don't let me in, but I don't really know what it is. I mean, I've been in Israel in Absor when there were bombs once, and also in Rehovot, I think, when there was an alert.
Yeah.
But you know, I can't really imagine because I don't have it in my body yet, like maybe some of you people have. So I was kind of maybe even too calm. I don't know, because I thought, well, you know, I mean, the area is so big. I mean, what makes you think that it's going to fall on your head or something like that? So I think I'm too how to say, you know, I'm not quite aware of the danger yet or what it can do or whatever. So I'll see how it goes. Hello, Netta and Michal. Kitty. Okay. Tom, are you back? You had been gone for a little while. Now it's just, yeah, there you are. Do you have internet problems like I do sometimes, or is it just that?
Yes, my internet is very bad these passing days. So I think what I'll do is I'll be without my video, so I won't overstress my...
Okay, so we'll do some awareness meditation and also like touching what is painful inside of us, if that's okay, if we have enough courage. Again, you know, it's not my meditation. I kind of pasted it together from different kind of people. So, and I add a bit of my own, but it might help. I don't know, you know, especially when panic kind of kicks in or something like that, because this is what I saw when there was this alert in Rehovot, that people got like, you know, when they hear the siren, the Tseva Adom, that the body reacts very, very strongly. They got all stiff and couldn't think anymore, and you know, like the whole reasoning is gone. So training these methods before it goes into panic, or at least also knowing what to do when there is panic, then it can be helpful when something happens. So we just try. Yeah, I mean, there's like different methods, but you know, it's touching fear. The method is like, or the meditation is touching fear. It's not making fear go away. Okay, like to be afraid for you, for your children, for your loved ones when things like this are happening. This is normal. I mean, it's part of it, belongs. This is it. So it's all about that. Okay, so try to take a comfortable place with a straight back if possible, if you still have enough energy. It's not too difficult. Hi, Leora. So we're just starting with the meditation. Try to relax, but be present and be awake. And settle and breathe. To be aware of your breath. You know, that always brings us into the body. It brings us into the present, because when there's fear, when there's panic, then we're not so present anymore. And just enjoy the breathing, you know, even though with whatever is going on, and I can imagine, or I think I can imagine how difficult and how terrible this is. Especially, it seems like there is no end, but also don't forget, everything is impermanent. So even that, at one point it will change. Nobody knows when and how, but still. To feel your breath, to be grateful that we are able to breathe, to really be present, breathing in, breathing out. How wonderful that is, even amongst all these difficulties and sadness and despair. So when we start to look at our difficult or painful emotions, there need to be two components so that we're not being hijacked by them. We're not being kind of carried away. One is being present, seeing clearly. So you can use your breath and just look, am I seeing my breath clearly? Am I fully there? In this moment, not in the past, not in the future. And the other component is willingness and courage. To stay with whatever is. So then for this moment, just don't get lost in the story of why things should not be as they are. And even there, even though it's difficult and terrible, this willingness, that's what it is at the moment. And instead of being outside, try to come inside to your body, to yourself, and allow yourself to feel whatever is there. So with that, we take this willingness and just without any, trying to see without any thoughts, just touch and be aware of whatever is there. Anger, fear, despair, pain, all of this feels painful. And in order to find it and to be fully in the body, it's always very good to ask, where does it hurt? So in case there's fear or moments when there's fear, shouldn't forget, fear is an intelligent part of us, but very often we think it should not be there. But fear is a natural protector. But just mentally say to yourself, it belongs. And we accept it. When it belongs, then there is acceptance. But the problem with fear is, if we are not mindful, then fear hijacks us. And we lose contact with the cortex, like we can't think anymore. We lose contact with our reasoning and being able to put things into perspective. And we especially lose contact with our love and compassion. So when fear takes over and hijacks us, it causes more suffering. And it is as contagious and as dangerous as a virus. So again, try to feel whatever is present in you. Try to have that intention to allow a willingness to be with whatever is there. That the wisdom in you just says, let it be. It belongs. It has the right to be there. It is a natural part, just like the wave and the ocean. It might help if you put your hand gently on the spot where you can feel the pain. And if you have enough courage to just stay with it and feel it, quite naturally there will be a compassionate response to it. Because if we can feel it, we can heal it. Never forget that. Try to feel the intelligence of fear and hold it with tender mindfulness. No need to do anything with it, just be aware of it. And in case you start to become afraid of the fear, or you feel that it's getting overwhelming or it goes into panic, just ground yourself. Feel how you belong to the earth who is supporting you, or touch something. Or a very good method to learn is just to keep counting your breath. Breathe naturally. Count your breath. To 5 and then start again at 1. And if you can do that for 5 or 10 minutes, it totally shifts your nervous system. Unfortunately, in those moments, very often we underestimate the power of mindfulness. All of these methods quiet the thoughts, so we don't get trapped in the thoughts that keep us a prisoner of fear. And all of a sudden we discover that our heart can offer to ourselves whatever is needed in a very direct and intimate and immediate way. It's the quality of tender presence with love and compassion that is washing through us. And whatever form it takes, you can visualize that light, warmth, coolness, whatever is needed. Our awake heart can give to ourselves. Or if it's easier to think that love and compassion comes from another source, from a loved one, from somebody you trust and respect, somebody that is wise, somebody you know cares about you, or from a spiritual or religious figure, or from a formless, loving presence. Just imagine and feel and sense that love pouring in. Let your deepest intention be to let that vulnerable place feel loved and bathed and healed. Imagine light, warmth, and a wash of tenderness. Just become aware of the quality of that presence that is there. Let yourself relax, rest, and open up to that tender presence. And don't take it personally by becoming over-identified with your role in the situation. You didn't give birth to these energies, they are universal. They belong to this realm that we call samsara. When it's not taken personally, we realize we can practice with anything we come into contact with, be it stress, frustration, fear, pain. Nothing is outside of our care anymore. So when something painful or difficult arises, allow yourself to feel that compassionate response. And see that pain is not the only guest at the party. It's not the only thing that is there. Allow yourself to experience yourself fully. Then you can wrap yourself up with warmth and affection and tenderness as you would anyone you care about. And then the last step is to open up not only to your own pain, but to the pain of shared humanity. Not lost in the story of why me or why us, but opening to all the beings that know this particular pain, this particular situation. Sometimes just this sentence of I'm not the only one can unlock the fear and open up our hearts. Just try it out. I am not the only one. Who knows this particular pain or fear. And only when we understand that can the most caring part of ourselves become known. And then again, just check fully what's going on in your heart. If it's still the same as at the beginning, that's fine. Because we learn to allow, we learn to make space. The moment we make space, we notice that these difficult emotions, one thing is they're not us. And if we touch them with awareness, then there will also be love, understanding, and compassion. And we can end the meditation, just again, these very simple thoughts. May I be safe. May I be protected from physical and mental harm. And then we totally open up. May all beings be safe. And may all beings be protected from physical and mental harm. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was great.
Yeah, you can always do that. It's so, this allowing the willingness to stay with the pain, to stay with the fear also, so that it doesn't take over, because then we are in the awareness more than in the fear. So it doesn't just like that. And then just these, loving kindness, metta, just these thoughts that all beings may be safe. Not in the rational mind coming in saying, oh, but it's not, and it will never end, and, all these kinds of things. It might be like this. Maybe, who knows? This situation will go on and on and on for hundreds and thousands of years. But the thing is, it doesn't really help when you think like this. Yeah. Whether it's like this or not. So like that. But I know it must be very difficult. Okay, well, so actually also another thing that maybe you've forgotten, like the homework, was to appreciate yourself the way you are, with fear, without fear, with success, without success, with humor, without humor, with, nobody appreciating you or the whole world appreciating you. Did anybody do that? Giddy is kind of having a smiley look on his face. Do you want to say something?
I'm not sure it was actually doing the homework, but it's something that goes on all the time. I mean, appreciating yourself and then saying this is too much ego-centered, and then not appreciating yourself, and then this is also ego-centered. I think maybe the best is when I'm not thinking about myself, but this is quite rare. But
yeah. Well, it's like appreciating ourselves is, as long as we don't compare ourselves with others, it's not ego-centered. Yeah, and when we start to appreciate ourselves the way we are, one thing is we can appreciate others, and the other thing is we really relax. And again and again and again and again, more and more and more, the Tibetan Lamas, they really notice we're far too tense. We want too much and this and that. And then it goes into self-centeredness. So don't be afraid of appreciating yourself, thinking you become like very selfish or whatever. Because the more relaxed we are, the happier we are, basically, even in this terrible situation. It's like, then we can maybe be of some benefit also. And if we fail, if we are the one who is panicking the most and making everybody else nervous and this, that, is fine. I think also, just to see that we have very, very little control over our mind. But the more we give it space, the more we make space for these difficult things that we are so afraid of, and then we kind of try to suppress them. And then, you know, it's a bit like you have a tap with water and you're trying, instead of closing it on the top, you're trying to hold the water like this. So maybe for a while it works, but then it goes, yeah, then it goes like that. So this whole thing about accepting the way we are and no expectations and good enough and all this, I mean, this is such an important step for us Westerners, because otherwise this whole, you know, this whole thing about the Dharma practice, which is so beautiful and is such good medicine, but it becomes poison. And the more you don't appreciate yourself, the more you become self-centered, the more everything turns around you. The more we can appreciate and we see, well, you know, actually I have what I need or I have what I want and it's okay and all this, then we can start appreciating others and then it's okay. Well, if you didn't do the homework, I'll just have to give it to you again for next week or something like that, isn't it? Israel.
I noticed when I appreciate myself more, I mean, usually I do, but sometimes more than usually, is getting somewhere my confidence, and also I feel stronger with myself.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that doesn't matter what others say about me, I know who I am.
Yeah.
I know who I am. So nobody can say something that I feel wrong. I mean, because I know who I am and they can say what they can say.
Yeah.
And I appreciate what I do.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I wish I could do it more, but.
It's homework, Israel.
Yeah, but you know, in the practice, in the beginning is homework.
Yeah.
Later is a part of life. That's it.
Exactly. Then this is what the homework is for, so that it becomes part of life, right? And so what you're saying is actually one of the previous verses not so long ago from Shantideva, where he says, well, if somebody praises me, you know, it doesn't give me qualities that I don't have, even if the whole world is telling me that I have these qualities. And if somebody is blaming me, it doesn't take away the qualities that I have. So, you know, we shouldn't put so much importance on these things. So that's what he's saying. Okay, anybody else would like to say something about this? Don't forget, this is still a discussion group. Otherwise, we go into the verses.
I want to share that.
Yes, please, Netta.
It's really, it takes an effort to do that.
Yeah.
It has to be an active movement.
Yes, of course. For us, you see, the thing is for us, like the active movement we do in our Dharma practice actually is more like putting hindrances away. Like this whole thing about effortless and appreciation and all this, it's all there. But we have to actively take away the hindrances. This is a little bit what we have to do, yeah? So at the moment, we still have to work with thoughts. This is what Israel is saying. So you see, the homework is thoughts, thinking about. I would like to say thanks for the words of Buddhism, for all the practice teaching. Yeah, you're very welcome, Joyce. So like the goodness and all of it is definitely there that we have, but it's covered by self-centeredness, and then also comparing ourselves with others, having huge expectations, never being, or very seldom being happy, or, you know, needing to put on acts and all this. So when we start to take away actively, as you say, also, like the same way as we can start to appreciate ourselves with thoughts, like not so much, oh, I did this and that, just, I don't know, it's difficult to explain. Just to relax about how we are in a way, yeah? And not to actively kind of buy into the thing oh, I still can't do this, and oh, I forgot this and that. You know, all this pressure that we put upon ourselves, that we have to solve everybody's problems, and we should always do everything right, and we should never have any negative emotions, and no anger, and no this and no that. When we kind of put this away, and in order, not just put away, but use arguments that Shantideva, for example, is using in this chapter, like, for example, against anger, you know, he doesn't say, don't get angry. He explains that anger is very harmful. And also he says, well, when situations come about, they have many causes and conditions. And he keeps saying that again and again and again and again and again. And then he also says, and you don't have any control over these conditions because you created the karma in the past. The only control you have is like that you're careful what you are creating for the future. Yeah, so a little bit like that. So actively, I would say, maybe actively, not so much praising ourselves and all this, but actively taking away what hinders the appreciation.
And maybe also the word rejoicing is coming up to me, because I think I thought about, I had a very intensive week and very sad in many ways that I lost a friend this week.
Okay.
And we were like last month, we were taking care of the family and supporting, and I've been swallowed to this maybe sorrow and the not enough and what can I do, and then stopping for a minute and rejoicing all the goodness which is there surrounding this thing. This
yeah, or as we did in the meditation, you know, sometimes just to sit down and ask yourself, where does it hurt? Because with the thought, where does it hurt, you immediately come into the body. And the moment you're in the body, you're in the present. Because, you know, everybody knows it hurts not somewhere out there, or not even in the head, unless you have a headache. Like, the hurt is usually in your chest. And when we come here, because this is where our good heart is sitting also, yeah. So we give it energy, and we look, and then love and compassion can develop for ourselves also without needing big words. Yeah, like I think sometimes, you know, this choiceless awareness, just to be present without wanting anything else. This to me, sometimes it's difficult. Yeah, it's really, really difficult, because we always think the painful things should not be there. Fear should not be there. Anger should not be there. And then we reject the whole thing. But when we can just look at it, not even, you know, not with it, we don't want to look at it so that it goes away, but we want to look at it out of curiosity. And to me, it feels like the embrace of a very, very warm-hearted mother who really, really wants the child to be well, but without pushing, who is just present in a way. Do you see what I mean? But we usually, when these difficult things happen, then we go into thinking, and, you know, oh, it shouldn't be like this, and why is it, and and then even with the rejoicing, you know, the rejoicing, sometimes we try to rejoice, but then we feel guilty when it doesn't work. Because very often with the rejoicing, we rejoice, and again, we do it by comparing ourselves with others. And then, of course, we think about people who are worse off than us, and then we feel guilty that we're not feeling happy. I mean, the mind is so tricky. And as you say, you know, you lost a friend. Well, that's difficult. It's sad. It's painful. And it's okay to feel that pain. It's so necessary, because, you know, as it says in the meditation, if you can't feel it, it can't heal. the disappointment that life is not the way we want it to be, the political situation is not what we want it to be, the Palestinians are not doing what we want them to do, the Israeli government is not doing what we want them, the Americans are not doing what we want them to do. It's disappointing. This samsara, we're disappointed all the time. Yeah. So rejoicing is a good one, but I think it can also be dangerous, because usually we rejoice about situations, isn't it, that we have or that we're in. So I just had a thought, just an idea. What about we really learn to rejoice when we do something right then, like I was about to say something unpleasant and I was able to shut up. Then we rejoice. Do you see what I mean, Nita? Then we can really say, wow, great, well done. When it's not well done, then, well, it's not well done. That's okay. But to rejoice also in the moment about things that are happening now. Otherwise, again, we have to get lost into thoughts and try and find the situation and this and that, and we're not present. So it's all about presence. And always to be aware of the nature of the mind who can be aware, the clarity of the mind. Yeah.
Can I say something?
Yes, my dear Laura.
This question of appreciation is a bit complicated for me. When I think quietly about myself, I can say, okay, there are a few things that I do okay, there are things that I don't do good enough, I accept it, try to accept it, but I keep telling this to myself that I'm not a Buddha yet and it's okay. But I find that I'm so I so depend on the feedback of the others.
Yeah.
Just can lift me or put me down very, very easily.
Yeah.
So this appreciation, I can talk to myself, and this is the way I deal with this. Okay, you know that you are not this, or you know that you are okay in this. I depend so much about people, how people respond to what I say and do.
Yeah, I know.
So much.
I know.
What sometimes can help me is, it's really lately that I found that I remember to tell myself that I'm really a small thing, really a thing, in a big picture.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of taking the whole frame, just like here we are in front of this screen, I'm just a little thing. I don't take the whole thing at the moment. I see you all. So in this situation, and I'm worried so much about did I speak well? What did they think?
Yeah.
You're a tiny thing. Nobody thinks about you so much. So it really calms me down. And appreciation, I don't know.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's really difficult, but it's something that we can learn. And I think, I'm really grateful to all the unpleasant comments that I get in the street. Not so much anymore, because it's 14 years I've been in Bern, and it's not such a big city, so I think people got used to me. But at the beginning, the looks, the comments, sometimes people would spit in front of me and things like that. So in order to be able to go out without fear and without anger and without getting defensive, and, hey, this is religious discrimination, what they're doing. I could sue them for that, It's not allowed to do these things. It's like racism. It's not racism, it's religiousism, or whatever you want to call it. So I had to learn to allow people to look at me the way they want to look at me, to say to me the things they want to say to me, to be pleasant or unpleasant. So I could go out and still feeling good to go out with my robes, because my robes are part of me somehow. So I learned it over these 14 years really well, because you see, these first 20 years in Dharamsala, I didn't have to do that because I was one amongst hundreds. nobody paid any attention to me. Here I got all this attention. So I wasn't used to that. And it was, as you say, it was quite difficult, you know.
But the fact that there is another thing, maybe it's connected to self-appreciation. If I'm happy with myself without any reason, just
exactly, yeah,
just happy. So this question is not rising at all.
Yeah.
I'm not good, what they think of me, because I'm well in myself without too much involvement of the.
Exactly. This is it. This is what you have to learn. You know, what other people say or do, there's not much we can do. But yeah, as you say, you're not the only one who is so dependent on the opinion of others. You're not the only one. But again, being aware of it and talking about it, it loses the power over us. This is why I want us to discuss here, you know, because when we hear ourselves saying, because we know these things deep down somehow, but we never express them. And so it seems as if we don't know them fully, and we think we're somebody kind of different because we're not noticing it, or we're not noticing it clearly. Yeah, this is why these two components, the willingness to be there, but being clearly there, not just kind of vague or a little bit. So then when we have that, as you say, then when we know that we are dependent on other people's opinions, then the cortex comes back in actually and says, come on, what do you think? You can control other people, what they think about you? You see, then the natural intelligence that we have, then it can work. Whereas we don't work with it.
The funny thing is that I don't want to control what they think. I want to be good enough so they think they're okay. It's me who has the problem.
Yeah, but they're not saying the right thing, isn't it?
They're saying the right thing. Not always, but.
Well, if they don't appreciate you and then you feel bad, so it's them, it's not you, is it?
No, it means it doesn't mean that I'm not good, but it's.
Yeah, depending on what other.
I would like to be like this, that everybody will think good about me, not somebody has criticism. That's all.
Yeah. So, but we're all the same, and I think knowing it really loosens it up. Yes, Noah.
Excuse me. I wanted to say that I feel exactly like Liora, because although sometimes I know that I did something very good and I appreciate myself, it's still not else. I'm waiting for the appreciation of someone else.
Yeah,
and
right.
If this doesn't come, I'm disappointed, even a little bit angry sometimes, and say that's not fair, that's not good, and I still cannot help it and say appreciation myself is enough. I'm not there all.
I know, this is what I'm saying. But we can learn it. You see, when we know that we did something good, it's good enough then. But yeah, we need this affirmation from somebody else. You know, I think, Liora, you were not there last week. So I was taking a situation in Kfar Monash, and maybe you made a soup and you see somebody eating, you know, with the dishes that people bring, right? And you see somebody eating that soup. And so it's clearly you made the soup, and the person says like, oh, wow, that soup that, I don't know, that Boaz made is so delicious. Okay, so you see, he is saying the soup is good, but he thinks it's somebody else who made the soup. Can you be happy with this? Or so it's all about me, ego, okay? Or does this person need to know that, no, it's not Boaz who made the soup, it's me who made the soup? It's a very interesting situation. It's like, how would I react? Because clearly, you know, me, myself, I know the soup is good because he says so. And other people also. Other people, you know, they don't care or they don't know who made the soup, but he thinks that Boaz made the soup. So he's saying the soup that Boaz made is really good. Can we live with this? Because he's appreciating the soup. Interesting, isn't it? Okay, good. Yeah, so keep going with this homework, because the more we appreciate ourselves, the more we can appreciate others, and the more relaxed we are, and you know, like that. But again, it doesn't mean, you know, maybe, you know, I'm saying this to you as a group, but maybe I wouldn't say that to you if I have you as an individual. Yeah, so there are moments where we have to pull ourselves together and say, hey, come on, you know, you can't kind of just appreciate, and you're not kind of changing anything. So tricky, isn't it, this whole thing? But in general, I think it's one of our shortcomings that we need this affirmation from outside. Yeah, and this is, and when we don't get it, as Noah says, we start to get insecure, and then we spoil the whole thing that we did something good. Yeah, maybe just this one sentence, you know, good enough. Maybe this is what we should learn. So in general, it's like this. But then, of course, there's also situations where it's not good enough, and we could have done better. And we can also tell ourselves, hey, you know, you can do better than that. That's also okay. Yeah. So it's not, don't take it as black and white. So I think this is also one of the awareness meditation, is to check, you know, what antidote do we need at the moment, or what kind of, in which direction do we need to go? Are we too high up? Are we thinking, oh, I'm so wonderful, or are we too low down? Okay, so we finished with verse 97, and now, so this is why I said, I don't know if it's the right moment to talk about this, because now is the verses where your enemy becomes your best friend. So please do not think about the you know, the bombs and these kind of things. Think about somebody who's getting on your nerves. Okay, so somebody that you know, somebody that you dislike. So now, you know, the praise from others, what Shantideva actually saying. So it's quite a good way to now go on from there when we say we need this appreciation from others. So he says, praise and so forth distract me and also undermine my disillusion with cyclic existence. I start to envy those who have good qualities, and all the very best is destroyed. Does that make sense? So Pema Chodron says there are 3 reasons why there is no point in constantly seeking recognition. We become dependent on the praise and compliments or appreciation, however you want to call it, because we make it dependent on the whimsical opinions of others, even though we actually feel good. Yeah, this is it. You know, so you can feel totally good. The dish you made, you think it's really delicious. Somebody else comes and says, oof, what on earth did you cook here? You know, all of a sudden your wonderful dish becomes a bit like that, isn't it? But what it does, you know, this appreciation makes us feel very comfortable. So we don't want to grow anymore. So this is why I said, you know, it's not being happy and content and appreciative of ourselves. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't make progress and that we shouldn't grow. So when all the things go with the way we want them to go, it weakens our disgust for samsara. When we have achieved appreciation and respect, then we think that this temporary good feeling is synonymous with lasting happiness. We let ourselves be led to believe that we no longer have to work on our mistakes, not even at our lack of humility. We can become very proud. And also we start competing with others. You see, somebody, I think, who doesn't have that many qualities, well, I don't know, sometimes they're not even that unhappy. When I look at other people who have so many capabilities and so many qualities, they suffer a lot from jealousy, because then there's this competition and this fear that somebody else comes along who is better. I mean, look at famous people. Oh, you know, what they go through, and maybe film stars and you know, all the competition there, and if it comes, you know, you get the praise and the prize and whatever, then we think that's it. Now we got it. Yeah. So we stop to recognize the nature of samsara. When all goes well, the wish to get out of samsara and not to be under the control of our negative emotions really, really weakens. And, you know, if we get a lot of appreciation also, because appreciation is not giving us lasting happiness, this is what it is also. Appreciation from others does not give us the same as when we appreciate ourselves. I think you can check that. Yeah, it's not the same feeling. It's not the same feeling. Appreciating ourselves, I think it's more quiet, more open, more calm, not like, wow, look at what they think of me. I know that you're not doing this, but maybe inside, you know, as Tenzin, I think Tenzin Palmo was saying in one talk, maybe she still says it from time to time. She says, you know, we've grown up and many of us have become old, but inside we're still like 5-year-old children emotionally, you know, when things go well, ooh, you know, she goes like this usually, ooh. And when things don't go well, we cry. And when things don't go well, then wow, we're all over the place, and we think it's going to last. Yeah. So when we have a lot of good qualities, it's very dangerous that we start to compete and we get jealous of others who, you know, are better than us. And then our good qualities and our merit and the whole Dharma practice starts to fall apart. So then there's this moment also when we think that we don't need compliments anymore, but be careful when the compliments go to others, envy suddenly comes into play. This is a warning sign and alerts us to a blind spot. So getting compliments and being praised and all this is not the problem. The problem is what we do with it. Yeah. So this is where we have to be mindful. What does it do to me? You know, does it increase my qualities, or does it just increase my pride or my arrogance, or you know, is temporarily the need for appreciation kind of gets filled. Is that more or less clear? So can we maybe talk just briefly again what samsara is? Because that's what we want, isn't it? We want to get out of samsara, which is not a place. We're not going somewhere else. And we want to attain full enlightenment. So what is samsara? Can you remember?
Maybe where nothing is absolutely either positive or negative. Everything has an opposite side to it.
Yeah, dualistic thinking. You know, there is no. We need it, like we need good in order to recognize bad. We need bad in order to recognize good, for example. Yeah. But that I'm not sure if that's really samsara, to see that nothing is just positive or nothing is just negative. I think that's pretty wise, actually. Joyce says negative emotions, yeah. Yeah, one part of it. Because also Buddha sees that, you know, that everything is relative.
No, it's not that we see that everything is relative, but nothing can satisfy us completely.
Ah, okay. Yeah, okay.
Maybe this is the cyclic existence trying to satisfy what is not able to be satisfied.
Okay.
Like running after.
That's a good definition. Trying to find satisfaction, trying to find permanent happiness and satisfaction in things that are by nature impermanent. You know, Shantideva was talking about the sound castle. like when we build up these samsaric glamours and things and good things that we have, it's like children building sand castles. So if you as a parent, you see the kids playing with this sand and all this and having a lot of fun and a lot of pleasure, but you already know as a grown-up, this will be destroyed. The children, they're not so much aware of it. Otherwise, they wouldn't put so much effort into it. Yeah. So when then the wave comes, or when wave is okay because it's nature, but when somebody comes, another friend of theirs, and he's not happy with what they did, and he kicks into it, yeah, they get all angry and disappointed and start to cry and all this because they put so much effort into the sandcastle. So this is samsara. We put a lot of effort into getting lasting happiness, like that sandcastle that we build, that the Buddha already knows at one point it will collapse. Yeah. But we can put our effort somewhere else where there is lasting happiness, for example, in patience, developing love, developing compassion, yeah, developing appreciation and love and compassion for ourselves, for example. That will bring us much more secure and much more lasting happiness. But so that's a good one, what you said, Netta. Like trying to find lasting happiness in things that are by nature impermanent. But then because when everything goes well, what we do, these impermanent moments, we put them very close together so that it looks as if we're having lasting happiness. That works for a little while, and then it also collapses. Everything always collapses in samsara. And what Joyce said, this is a big part of it, but maybe you forgot one thing is like being under the control of negative emotions that we don't want to have, but we have them. Being guided, doing actions under the control of negative emotions that we don't really want to do. And then, as you say, Netta, cyclic existence, being reborn again and again and again and again and again, under the control of these negative emotions, who create what? Happiness? Dukkha, dissatisfaction, stress, frustration, fear, lamentation, grief, fear of loss, and so on.
This is what we call samsara, no?
Yeah, that is samsara. So, samsara is just the word.
Yeah,
so I wanted to have the definition of it so that we are clear what it is. Actually, the definition for samsara is life after life after life after life, taking on these 5 contaminated aggregates, which is, or you can take this contaminated body and mind, taking that on again and again and again and again, under the control of wrong views and negative emotions and karma, the things we created before. So samsara is not a place. Samsara is in the mind. And it's a mind who is seeking happiness in the wrong place. If we seek temporarily happiness, then it's okay to find it in samsara, because then it comes, we're happy, then it goes, it's also okay. But the problem is our mind is hardwired for lasting happiness. We cannot make ourselves just want temporary happiness, especially the human mind, I think. Maybe the animal mind is more into, whenever there is temporary happiness, then they're happy and that's it. Yeah, they're not so much thinking about the future. Because very often when we have happy moments, instead of enjoying them, one thing is what comes in is already the fear, knowing that it will end. And then it spoils it, right? Or what also comes in very often, this should be more intense. Yeah, and then we're already planning the next event. Yeah, if you go for lunch or dinner somewhere and somebody made a very good dish, and you can't prevent yourself to ask for the recipe, isn't it? or you want to know how it's made, or you're trying to find out yourself. If you cook, of course, if you can't cook, then you're not asking for the recipe. But if you cook, why is that? Because you want to repeat it, because we already know deep down that it's not going to give us lasting happiness. Yeah? Is that okay with this?
Yeah, it's like, for me, it's like to be to surf on the waves, you know. I see it like surfer. We trying to get the wave to be on top of the hatred and samsara wave.
Mm-hmm.
When the wave go down, you
Mm-hmm.
have another one.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get another one, and like this you go from place to place.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you go inside the water. It's okay also.
Yeah, it's okay also, but it's still deep down, Israel, it's still not so okay. You know, we can learn that it's okay. It's part of our existence. But if we would have a choice, I don't think we would go under.
No, but if you know that you don't have a choice.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
but we do have a choice. This is it. This is what the Buddha is telling us. You have a choice of not going under anymore. You have a choice of being free from your negative emotions. Yeah, then you're not creating more negative karma, and then that's it.
I'm sure that it will be like this when I'll be a Buddha. But before this, I don't see a point.
Yeah. So then, you know, what the Buddha is telling us is to not to lose interest in becoming a Buddha, not to waste too much time with kind of feeling okay when the wave is down, but really to still at the moment we need to, you see, this is why Buddhism seems contradicting sometimes. So at the moment we need to learn to be okay also when the wave is down, so that we can continue to practice to not to have these down waves anymore. Yeah. And not just to say, okay, sometimes up, sometimes down, this is it. But hey, but what is the reason for this up and down and up and down? Me building sandcastles, then it collapses, then again another one, and then it collapses, and then another again. So that we generate what is called, you know, renunciation. I want to get out of samsara. I want to be free from being under the control of my negative emotions. Yeah. Because it's my negative emotions from the past that make me create actions that creates the down wave now. It's not the world outside. It is my actions from the past. So this is why I want to get out of this. I don't want to be under the control of karma and negative emotions anymore. Yeah, so we need to listen to our heart sometimes that says when the wave is down, do you really want that? Oh, no, thank you. What is creating it? Karma and klesha, negative emotions. Is that okay? Is that clear? Otherwise, just ask.
Yes, thank you so much for the very clear explanation. Thank you, Rita.
Okay. Then, 99. Therefore, are not those who are closely involved in destroying my praise and the like also involved in protecting me from falling into the unfortunate realms? Yeah. So here again, he talks about competing with others. Yeah, like when we compete with others, we might do it out of anger, out of jealousy, self-centeredness, and all this. What does this create? More negative karma. Where does the negative karma lead us? If it's very strong, where does it lead us? He says it here. It leads us into the unfortunate realms. Yeah. So at the moment, we are human. At the moment, we can practice this Buddhist path that leads us to liberation and enlightenment if we want. You know, if you don't want, that's perfectly fine. At the moment when we are, it's so nice what you said, Israel, about the wave. At the moment when the wave is down, we have a lot of resources to come back up again because we're human. If we are animal, if we are hell beings, if we are hungry ghosts. Now, if you cannot relate to these different dimensions, If we are born in Afghanistan, if we are born in Syria, if we are born in a refugee camp, if we are born, in Africa, whatever, in these places, we lack, even though they're also human, I know, but still they have much less resources than we have in order to come back up again. Yeah, and especially the hell beings, the hungry ghosts, and the animals. Animals, they don't have these human resources to help themselves. And I'm not saying, of course, also we humans with our intelligence, we destroy the planet because of our greed. So that these human resources and the cortex and human intelligence is not just good, it's also bad because we're just, working for our own sake. But if we want to attain enlightenment, we need to have a human existence, because otherwise, with the conditions present, yeah. Okay, so actually the one who is destroying my good reputation, my being famous and all this, actually he is helping me not to be reborn in the lower states. What do you think about this one?
It's a very wise suggestion, I think.
Very wise, you mean?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So here, because there will always be troublemakers in our life, whether we want or not. Yeah. I mean, most of the time, maybe not every second, but they always turn up somewhere. Even if it's just one, even if it's just one, even if you have just one person, and I'm talking about people you know personally, okay, closer. So, or you work with, even if it's just one, you work in a place with 20 other people, one person you dislike, that one person is able to totally destroy your peace of mind, even though you have 19 others who are totally okay, isn't it? We're totally obsessed with this person. The person comes into the room, the good mood is gone. Yeah, this is how powerful our things are. So, and then on top of it, yeah, maybe we look at the other verse, because we look at these verses together because it all goes together. Okay. So if I don't have a good reputation to defend or to be jealous of or this and that, then I don't need to get, I don't get jealous, I don't get angry, it will be okay. I'm not creating more negative karma. So this is like the benefit of troublemakers, yeah. So then I who am striving for freedom, this is Shantideva who talks to himself, right? He says, hey, but I want to be a bodhisattva. I want to attain full enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. Of course, Israel might take a long time, but doesn't matter. This is what I want. I keep going in that direction, not to settle in samsara, and just to work with negative, with the down wave. Yeah. Ultimately, I want to get out of samsara. So it says, I who am striving for freedom do not need to be bound by material gain and honor. Because again, because of gain and because of honor, so much negativities are being made, so much fighting. I mean, wars. What are wars about? It's about money, fame, reputation, isn't it? Land. What is land? Land is money. Sometimes they fight for land which nothing grows on. I mean, it's like so crazy. So why should I be angry with those who free me from this bondage? So don't forget, we're still in the patience chapter. Yeah. So again, until now, these last maybe 20 or more verses, it was about the third kind of suffering. Third kind of patience. Patience with the Dharma, like we want to apply the Dharma methods, but it doesn't work so well. So it was about, we talked about 8 worldly Dharmas, that we get jealous and angry and attached and all this, and it doesn't work so fast. So we need to have patience with that. Now we are back to having patience with those who harm us. Yeah, you remember the 3 kinds of patience? Anybody? Hila is shaking her head, so maybe somebody just try. I won't get angry if you don't know. 3 kinds of patience, Noah?
Patience with the others.
Others who harm us, yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So in order not to retaliate, yeah.
Patience with Dharma, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm guessing, patient with myself.
Yeah, no, patience with difficult situations that, you know, weather, neighbors that we don't know so well, boss not coming, these kind of things. Yeah. So here we are back with the patience of somebody who harms us, kind of not getting angry at them, but seeing the benefit of them harming us. Yeah. You know, Ribo Rinpoche, he was telling us the story at one point. He's been 12 years in prison by the Chinese army. So he said when he was imprisoned, he had with him a very precious statue. Now, why a statue is precious for a Rinpoche is not, I wonder if I should tell you, I'm not sure. It's not because it's made out of gold or whatever, but because he has such a close connection to that statue as if it would be the Buddha himself. That's why the statue is precious, yeah, for a Rinpoche, not because it is worth a lot of money and full of jewels or something like that. Also, maybe because it came from somebody else, from his teacher, or, you know, the preciousness is in the mind, it's not so much in the material. So he said he was very afraid that of losing it, and he was really trying to protect it. And then, of course, they took it away from him. And then he said, then the fear was gone. You know, I didn't have to worry about it anymore. Yeah. You know, and I always tell the story about having a lot of money and not having so much money, that sometimes it's easier to be generous when you don't have so much money than when you have a lot of money, which is really strange. And I always tell the story when my mom died, she left, I think like something like 8,000 Swiss francs. And so I could have had half of it, but there were my 2 nieces and my sister-in-law. So I said, you know, let's divide it into 4 and that's it. And but because I was the daughter, I could have had half. So, you know, it's 2,000 francs for each one. So it's a lot of money because I was in India. So in India, it lasts for a year, but still. But then I was thinking, if my mother would have left me 1 million, if I would have given 250,000 Swiss francs to these 2 nieces, or to my sister-in-law, because by law she wouldn't get anything because my brother had already died, but it's the 2 nieces. I was wondering. Then you can work with it, and then you can say, oh, yes, next time I earn so much money and I will also then divide it. But you see what I'm saying? You know, it looks as if it's much easier to divide 1 million because it's much more than 2,000 than 8,000. What do you think? What is your opinion with this? Have you ever made a personal experience? Or you're not looking at these things so well? Maybe Elisheva told us about this whole thing last time, isn't it? That goes a bit in that direction. Yeah.
Yes, I can continue from this week.
Okay.
This project that I suddenly could make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it's a long project. It's not like in 1 month, but I needed to get 80% of 2 buildings of the owners of the apartments. So it sometimes usually takes years to do it with the people. And in the beginning of this week, Sunday, I reached 60%. Okay. And then I get hurt very bad.
Oh, now your sound is gone. Your microphone is on, but your sound is gone.
You don't hear me?
Now it's okay again. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so it was really a big success, this 60%, but I broke my leg. I didn't broke it, but I really get very bad
injury.
I heard, yes, I was hurt very bad. And yesterday I got 80%.
Uh-huh.
So it's like the project is starting.
Uh-huh.
And there was I went to the shelter.
Mm-hmm.
I go down with the
מדרגות,
איך אומרים?
The crutches, yeah.
Stairs, on the stairs. I go down and I crack my left leg.
Oh,
so
wow.
now I have two
legs.
And I'm a person who's doing a lot of sport, yoga, swimming.
Yeah.
So I really succeed, and I already told in the group that I have a problem with succeeding.
Okay.
So I was really glad of myself succeed these things. It's really, everybody told me, wow, you are amazing. How did you do it in 1 month instead of 5 years in 1 month?
Yeah.
I didn't do a lot. It just went away. It just went like this.
Yeah.
I really spoke with the people, but I lost 2 legs.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So something is rejecting from inside, so it's difficult to succeed.
Yeah.
So.
Strange, eh? Really strange. Anyway, so he said, he says if somebody kind of steals your stuff or doesn't give you what you want and all this, actually, then he makes you being fed up with samsara, seeing that in samsara there's no lasting happiness. So why should I be angry with that one who helps me to have renunciation? Okay. Makes sense? Yes or no? Not to get angry, because yeah. And actually, when somebody steals your stuff, takes away these things or your reputation, then we can see how reputation and material gain and all this, how it creates suffering. Because when it's gone, you suffer much more than if you never would have had it. Yeah. So this is why it is kind of everything is pervaded by dissatisfaction and suffering. Okay, those who wish to cause me suffering.
אשקלון, זה פשוט לא יאומן מה קורה באשקלון.
I need to go to the shelter or what? Anyway, we're almost done. So
sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay that you warn each other.
I'm in a friend's house, not in my house.
Oh, okay. Okay, so then those who wish to cause me suffering are like the Buddhas bestowing waves of blessing as they open the door for my not going to an unfortunate realm should be here. Why should I be angry with them? So you see, when you suffer, it's a ripening of negative karma. Now, if you remember, karma, when it stays on the mind stream, it increases. It can then bring, the longer it stays, it can then bring a much bigger result. And it can bring like an unfortunate rebirth in a lower state. So when somebody brings these imprints to ripen, then actually they are purifying our negative karma. So why would I be angry with them? So it's like the Buddha's blessing me. They are actually helping me not to be reborn in the lower states. Now, it doesn't mean you let everybody walk over you. You should protect yourself also for the sake of the others who want to harm you, of course. But sometimes they do harm us. And then we can use this logic, okay? So Pema Chodron says, when we are irritated, we try to remember this logic. Yeah, when we are irritated, when somebody is harming us or making noise or, not doing what we want them to do and these kinds of things. Actually, also, she says, when we're irritated, then the one who made the trouble, he shows us where we stand with our spiritual practice. So we know we're not that fantastic yet, and we have to keep working. So they show us how to fall into the trap and keep worrying over everything and nothing. Now, I'm not talking about the situation in Israel, because this is not nothing, okay? So not even the Buddhists can do anything more beneficial for us, yeah? Okay, like they do kind of close the door to the lower realms, because that kind of karma that we have created, that our mind stream has created in the past, has now ripened. And if we're reacting with patience, we're not creating more negative karma. Okay, is that?
Anila, I have this kind of patience to Dharma. I didn't understand that.
The Dharma works very slowly. Okay. Not to give up. Not to give up, and not to have high expectations, and and very patiently just keep working on it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and because patience is one of the 6 perfections. Okay, so if we don't practice it, then we're not making any progress on the path. So if nobody makes any trouble for us, how are you going to practice patience? It's impossible. Okay, can you use that reasoning during the week?
Just want to say something, if it's possible, that
yes, please do.
It's very hard to do this with your parents. I mean, everybody else, I can say, okay, I can learn, I can do, I can have patience, I can, I don't know. But with my parents, it's not working. I mean, it's too hard.
I know.
It's almost impossible. Yeah. Because when they hurt me, it's like, okay, how can I practice patience now? It's too much,
Yeah, again, practicing patience doesn't mean you should not say anything, you should not do anything, you should not react. That doesn't mean that. This is a total misunderstanding, that you should just swallow it. You take it, you work with it in order not to be angry. And now we have to redefine what anger is. What is anger?
Can I say something, Anila?
No, wait, Joyce. I need to have this this definition of anger here.
Yeah, I just want to say, I wanted to say about anger and about patience, if it's okay, because what I learned on myself, that every time that I feel this kind of anger on my chest, I just trying to know that the anger makes me ugly, and I smile instead. And I return to myself. And I return to myself and meditate only about love.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, and I learned it from the Buddhism, I think, and it's really helped me a lot. And about the patience that she talked about, the other old people, like I was taking care for 12 years in the how do you call it, in Vetabot, nursing home here in Israel. I was 12 years working with that, and I think I am so happy and for what I'm doing, because when I saw them that I patiently do what they ask me, and I cannot say no when they ask me to do what they want. And sometimes, when some workers, there's not a lot of patience to do that. So me, I felt the appreciation, and it's not because I'm happy that they appreciate what I'm doing. I'm happy for myself because I did it and I'm doing it as well until now. And I think that the patience is very important for me to do it with full of omits, courage, and feeling inside in our heart, I think.
Yeah, thank you, Joyce. So, but you see, it's much easier to do that with people who are not your parents than it's your own parents. So this is it. But just to give you the definition of anger so that we can stop on time, it's like it's a wish to harm, okay? A wish for them to be unhappy so that they suffer for what they're doing to you. Then it's anger. When we say something with this motivation, when we are too, you know, when we're too one-sided, when we only see what they have done or something like that, then it's anger. And patience, the definition of patience is to have the willingness at all costs not to harm. So patience and anger are totally opposite. And this is why, you know, when sometimes they say the antidote for anger is love. Not really. The antidote for anger is patience, and then love will come. Yeah. Or when there's love, then there's always also patience. Yeah. And so I know it's difficult, but very often also we get angry because we think they're doing it on purpose. They're not doing it on purpose. They don't know anything else. This is the problem. Yeah. They are even more under the control of their negative emotions than we are. Yeah. So, but yeah, I know it's difficult, but you can talk to them. That's fine. You can say, look, whatever you find out, which is helpful. Sometimes it's good to talk about it. Sometimes it's good not to talk about it, but to make sure that you are not angry at them when you go to see them. You know, to show them love and appreciation and all this. Very often then their nastiness can dissolve. But also, you know, I think there's one saying that says, when suffering doesn't know what to do with itself, meaning when suffering doesn't see any purpose in itself, it turns into aggression. And behind anger is always ignorance, suffering, not being happy, fear, and all these kinds of things. Yeah. So I don't know, you see, this argument, when they are nasty to us, be it parents or somebody else, and Shantideva says, yeah, they're bringing to ripening my negative karma, then this is finished. If it works for you, then that's fine, you know. But never, you know, never told to go and tell your parents, oh, you know, I'm so happy to have you because you're my object of patience. Please never tell that to anybody, because it really hurts when you say.
Of course.
But patience doesn't mean inactive. And compassion can be very active by, for example, saying, but without anger, but we're concerned for your parents because they are creating a lot of negative karma for themselves. Yeah. For example, active compassion can be for the concern of the other. That's it. That's enough. You know, I mean, changing other people's habits is very difficult. Does that help a bit?
Yeah.
I'm glad you asked that question again, because very often when we read these verses, when we look at these verses, you know, it comes across as if Shantideva says you shouldn't react. Of course you should react. If there's injustice, you can do something to react, but not with anger, but with reasoning. Yeah, and trying to include everybody so that everybody has some kind of happy solution. But as Gidi said at the beginning, you know, samsara, there is no happy solution for everybody, whether we want or not, you know. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so we dedicate. Let's send out some light, okay? And maybe you can, when we feel what Joyce is saying, I read it, when we feel the anger. Yeah. When you feel the anger, do exactly what we did in the beginning meditation, because anger is also painful feeling. Where does it hurt? Then also for anger, also very, very quick method. What kind of needs that I have did not get fulfilled? Then we start to think, oh, but, you know, shared humanity, I am not the only one who these needs don't get fulfilled. And I am not the only one who has these needs. Maybe my parents also have these needs that they seem they're not getting, or they feel that they're not getting fulfilled. How about, because they can't fulfill mine, they're too old to change, but how about I am trying to fulfill their needs? And it's especially listening to them, appreciation, respect, these kinds of things. That's quite magic, actually. That works quite well.
I tell you, I'm really trying.
I know you are. But also, you know, just keep trying, and you don't need to succeed, by the way. This is another thing. When we do these methods, this is another huge mistake. When we do these methods, we just do them, not to manipulate anything, not to change anything, just to apply these methods. Then there is no expectations, and then we continue. When there's huge expectation that it should work, and if I want to fulfill their needs, and then of course the expectation is, then they will have to fulfill my needs is there, then it's not working.
You still have a lot to practice. Thank you.
Yeah, but it's really good to, when you feel hurt, to analyze, you know, what needs did not get fulfilled, because then you're not in the for me hurt anymore. You are in the analyzing awareness mind, in your wisdom mind, and then it doesn't hurt so much. Anger, I think, is made we suffer double. Yeah. Okay, the shrimp being roasted. But you see, when it's true. When we are angry, we suffer double. But then when we start thinking like this, then we get angry at the anger. So it's like, you know, then you need a lot of compassion for yourself. And as I'm saying, you know, be careful. Anger, like fear, anger is there to show us something. So don't go kind of, oh, I shouldn't have any anger and never I accept anything. That again would be wrong. So this is why in this whole Buddhist practice, there's nothing that is black and white. And this is why we need awareness to see what is really the motivation why I'm saying something. Or you can say, for example, you can think, okay, me as a loving person, you would like to be a loving person, wouldn't you? Everybody, question to everybody. Do you want to be a calm, open-hearted, good, loving person?
Yes.
Yes or no? Kitty is not
yes.
sure.
Yes.
Kitty is not sure.
I think it's really good to remember it.
Yeah, exactly.
When we do something and the consequence and whatever comes is bad or wrong or unpleasant, just to remember that what our intention was good. This is good enough.
That's good enough. And then so when you feel the anger, you make a pause. If this is the thing, if you can make a little pause, you come inside, where does it hurt? What kind of needs did not get fulfilled? Then you go, okay, so me as the loving, open-hearted, compassionate, wise person, how do I react now? And then you fake. Even though you're not the loving, compassionate, wise person, you fake that you are the loving, compassionate, wise person. And all of a sudden you become the loving, compassionate, wise person. And again, loving doesn't mean lovey-dovey, that you let everybody do what they want to do. Please understand this. Kindness is not letting everybody do what they want to do, even though we see they harm themselves. That's a huge misunderstanding. Okay? Okay, so you close your eyes and if you're a Buddhist, you visualize Chenresik in the space in front of you. If you're not a Buddhist and we don't know how Chenresik looks, a figure of compassion and wisdom, how would that look? It can be just a source of light. And that figure, that light becomes huge and covers your whole area. As big as you can. You really try to imagine the land, you know, Israel, Palestine, Gaza Strip, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Egypt, Sinai. Like a huge cloud of love, compassion, and wisdom. And out of that cloud, we see light is coming down like rain. And it calms and cools the hatred, the anger, the aggression. And because you're visualizing that, you think, like this, I can contribute a little bit, at least, to the calmness in this area. And you just visualize, you know, like on hot stones, this rain of compassion is falling and it goes psh, and everything calms and cools down. If it helps, and if you like, we can chant the mantra a few times together. As you continue that loving, compassionate, cooling rain fall on all beings in this area, no matter from which side. No mani pemme o, no mani pemme o, o 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 mani pemme. And you can do that during the week also. And if you feel getting angry or aggressive, then you can, if you know how Chenresig looks, you can cry out to Chenresig and you can ask him, please be the waterfall for my aggression and my anger. Because when we visualize Chenresig, then we connect with our Buddha nature, with our good heart. May all beings be safe. May all beings be protected from physical and mental harm. May all beings be strong, healthy, free from fear, loving and peaceful. And may we all be able to live our lives with ease, even in difficult situations. May we see it as a ripening of negative karma. May we be able to be aware enough not to produce more of it. Okay, thank you very much. So the homework is what we did at the end. When it's difficult situation, then you go, me as the loving, compassionate, open-hearted, wise person, how do I react now? Okay, sleep well. I hope you don't have to go to the shelters anymore. If you do, then just think I'm not the only one, and also even this situation is impermanent also. Please take care. And we'll be
Thank you
very
thinking,
much.
we'll
Thank
be
you so
thinking
much.
and dedicating
It's so
for you.
nice to listen to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, my friends. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Feel well,
Good night,
everybody.
Take care.